Hi everyone, this is the second video in a series I'll be doing on gilding, all types of gold leaf techniques. So here we go. What I'm doing today is showing you the way people nowadays, I'm sure, prepare their gold size and how we used to do it in the past. The reason I'm doing two of them is that some parts of the world, I'm sure microwaves are available, some parts not. So in order to heat that size, in the old days, people used to carry one of these heaters. It's a coil with a protective element so that they could be plugged in to heat the size water, get it going. Of course, now we've got microwaves. So what I'm going to do is I am going to prepare 2 buckets of size. We'll plug that in, and we're going to try to keep an eye on the time, see how long it takes to get going. What will happen is I'll start seeing the water moving, I'll throw the caps in. In this instance, I'll just pop the caps into the cold water, and depending on where you're located, you can use water from the area, purified water or distilled water, whatever makes it work for you. So I've got the caps in there. I'm going to start off by heating this for 2 minutes. While that's going, and while this is heating up, I'll just mention to you that these capsules, which are available as large packages, is the way I bought them because I use it a lot, or packages as small as 10 in a pack, which I would probably suggest if you're not gilding a lot. And if you are keeping them in the box, use one of these silicate packages from things that you buy to sort of keep them a bit drier. I do recommend that if you're doing something like this way, buy a lot, transfer them to old medicine things or jars where you can really keep the capsules as dry as possible. So, rid of that. Now what we're going to do is, in addition to preparing the size, that's getting slightly warm, is I'm going to pour this into this container. And this is how I used to travel. I prepare my size at home and put it in here and go to wherever I was going and prepare whatever it needs to be, 1 or 2 bottles or whatever. So after I put the size into here to double check that the mix was done really nicely, then we're going to put this sieve, it's just a tea sieve, very fine mesh, put that in there, and then I'll pour the size into that just to see that there are no lumps or portions of the capsules that haven't melted. This has been warming up for 2 minutes. The caps have been put in. If you can see, they are melting. I'm just going to take a spoon and try to break them up, move them around a little bit, and this will be going back in the microwave for a couple more minutes. Let's see how it looks. Pretty good. Want to make sure that they're really good. Now this is beginning to warm up. I'm going to be putting these caps in momentarily. Put that down in a clean space. You can see that after spinning, the unmelted caps have sort of gone into the middle. So we're going to keep heating this up in the microwave and back a little bit. I'm going to do this at 2.5 minutes this time. There we go. This is warming up. I'm going to be putting the caps in. In general, you do want to try to get some water within the cap so it sort of sinks. These are 2 double-aught caps, and I've already been made fun of for saying double-aught. So it's 2 00 caps for those of you who don't want to speak as a colonial. There we go. Okay. Now, as this is heating, I'm going to keep swinging this item around to keep these little guys melting thoroughly. And let's see how long this takes. I didn't check the time when we started off. The pot's I'm figuring maybe 5 minutes ago. So we'll keep an eye on this and see how things melt. I actually prefer using this rather than the microwave. I think somehow or other it seems to melt the caps quickly compared to that. But we'll still put it through the strainer to make sure everything's okay. In a fair amount of time in my working life, I didn't carry one of these. Hardly ever had any issues, but if you ever do have an issue where a tiny portion of a cap somehow gets into the guild and you haven't noticed it, it'll probably disturb you as much as it disturbed me when I go around the front of this job and check out what is. All right, we'll see you in another couple of minutes. Here it comes. This is an additional 2.5 minutes. Let's see how things are going. Seems like when I'm in the field, it takes 2 or 3 hits. It's starting to steam a little bit. I still see some unmelted capsule in there. So give it a stir. Keep an eye on it. See how you like it. It's almost steamy enough to make some tea. But it's okay. We're going to throw it in again for another 2.5 minutes. Okay, we're giving this another stir up. And in general, when I was on the job, I kind of just keep doing this to get the mix going until I could see that the caps were completely melted. So we're going to just keep doing this. So I'll see you again in a couple of minutes. So about 7.5 minutes, give or take. It seems like that old-fashioned way is starting to bubble up and get steam. This was very close to boiling. I think the size capsules are quite well mixed in. So we'll let that cool down for just a second and keep looking in there. This is, the water's starting to move around, so it's obviously getting quite hot. And in the past, what I would do is, you can hang this on the side if you want. I really didn't do that. I would just keep swinging it around. When this started to steam quite thoroughly, in general, everything was ready to go. So let's just consider this, for the sake of the movie, ready to go. There might be a tiny bit of capsule down there that isn't quite there, but it's going to be a strong enough size to do work. So we'll get this baby unplugged. Hang it over where it isn't going to fly anyone. Don't worry about that. Now, because it's so blasted hot, I'm just going to put this here and pour this container size. Now this bucket, I did put a cord around the top edge so that this handle could be slid back and forth to get it out of the way. Also, it's pleasant to move this where you need it, just to balance everything in your hand. So getting this out of the way, turn this baby around, and we'll get this, pour it into here. I do see a bit of capsule. It might be a little on the old side. Ooh, hello. I don't see anything lying in there, which doesn't belong. Give it a quick rinse. All is clear. So what I'm going to do now is simply pour that through here, just to double check on the purity of the melt. That is hot. So here we go. See a tiny bit of capsule there. There seems to be some pieces in there. I'm just going to rinse this out. So you can either throw that away, or you can get a spoon or a brush and smush that stuff down and mix. Oh, that's hot. Mix it in with the rest of the size. In fact, I got a little bit more size in here than I did on my last go around. That will wind up being a strong enough mix. I'm going to just rinse this stuff away. What's left. Make sure your sieve is nicely cleared off and anything that shouldn't be there. Leave that there for the time being. Now, this should be ready to go. So what I'm going to illustrate to you next is I'm pouring about a half of this away. And I'm just going to add fresh, clean water. In this case, I think I'm just going to put the purified stuff in. Now, this is kind of just guesswork. You don't need to go measuring or anything else. You can see where the height of this is. And we're just going to pour about half of it away. Some people just use, I've read Atkinson recommended, Frank Atkinson, recommended using boiling water on a window. I don't think I'd go that far. Stressing out the glass isn't a good thing, I don't think. So I'm just going to add about this amount of water and make that about 50% the strength that it was. And we're going to heat that again. I'll get rid of this other mix. I just wanted you to see it, how it's done in a microwave. So we're going to plug that in again. If I could find the thing, here it is. And wait for that to get really nice and hot, not really boiling though. And when that's ready, we're going to go upstairs into the studio and I'll show you how to do a hot wash, which will give you a brilliant guild if you're at all worried about the intensity of the guild. So I'll see you in a little bit. Okay, now what we're doing now that I've shown you how to do the gold size properly is we're going to continue with last time's demo, in that we gilded this. It hasn't been patched or anything. We're not bothering with that, just getting it going. This is now the gold size that was diluted 50%. It's very hot, not boiling, but you wouldn't want to jump into a bathtub full of this. And you can hold up your pot if you wish to do the hot wash or whatever you're comfy with. I'm going to hold it up. Now, this side of the guild was burnished with this burnishing pad. The other side was burnished with what I've been using for years and years, is the makeup application brush. And prior to that, the way it was taught, it was with cotton. I was dissatisfied with this, started using these. I was very satisfied, and now my very good friend Robert Fries gave me this, and I'm convinced this thing is the thing to use. So I'm not getting paid for this advertising. All I'm telling you with, in regard to this video, is that these are just items that I use to do my job well. So here we go. In hot washing, you don't go across, you go straight up one time. And then you'll overlap where you were a fraction and continue across the entire gill job. Okay, so we're up one, second one, third one, and so on. just overlapping a tiny bit one time. You don't do this over the same area twice. You're remelting the gelatin a little bit, getting it tighter to the window, and this procedure really works. I had someone from Canada get in touch after suggesting this and was very happy with the results. That's the whole thing. Now we're just going to wait for this to dry. We'll probably burnish it again, and you can see just from the way it's starting to glow there, this thing works very rapidly. So we're actually going to do this little bugger too. Why not? Again, that's the motion. Dip, so it's really wet. Don't go doing that. Just ultra saturated like a big mop. And once up. That's the end of it. Wash up your equipment. If you've got a mess down there, wipe up and get ready for the next portion of the job. Now, because we didn't paint any outlines or any lettering on here, what we would do if this was the case is do a burnish one-tone gold, which would mean either we're silk screening across here with an image and then washing off so that just that image that was silk screened on is what's going to show, or you'd hand paint something, wash off and varnish, and that would be that job. Really simple. Back in the 70s and 80s and 90s, especially around Chicago, big corporations, the banks, the architects wanted that real hard-lined gold look with no other embellishment, no outlines, no convexing, nothing. But we'll be covering all those subjects as we go along.